Being prepared is essential when it comes to an emergency. And tonight, April Peardon shows us how having an emergency plan in place can make dealing with severe weather a lot easier.
During severe weather, taking the necessary precautions ahead of time is important.
The biggest thing that you want to do is make sure that you're aware of what the situation is around you.
Brian Murnahan, Regional Communications Director from American Red Cross, Texas Region, says keeping open communication with family and loved ones helps everyone be on the same page.
Emergency kits are something you can put together pretty quick, and you can have one in the car, you can have one at the house. And that'll help make sure that if the house does lose power or something happens, that you do have those necessary supplies on hand.
Having the proper supplies when an emergency happens can give you the peace of mind of knowing you have what you need.
You know where everybody's going to meet after the situation resolves itself. So after the severe weather goes through, if home's not available, what's the next best place? And everybody knows that.
Supplies can include, but not limited to, water, non-perishable food, flashlight, chargers and batteries, first aid kit, blankets, and copies of personal documents.
Your home requires power in order to operate medical equipment, making sure that you're in touch with the fire department or the organization that you've already identified that is going to be able to help take care of you, to transport you, to ensure your safety. Make sure you have those plans in place.
Murnahan says having an emergency plan in place prior to any severe weather will help make things smoother in the event there is one. April Peardon, East Texas News.
And when you talk about all the rain we've had today, on average, flooding kills more people in this country than lightning, hurricanes, or even tornadoes most years.